so my name is Roshni. I am 26 years old and I have been eating mainly fruit for the last 2.5 years. It's been great so far. There have been some ups and downs, but I'm glad for all of it because it's taught me so much, and I'm so glad to be living a healthy life now.
But you didn't always used to be so healthy.
That's right.
Can you rewind time and tell me what happened when you were young or younger?
Okay, so ever since I can remember, I've always had low blood pressure and low weight. I used to be very underweight my whole life. People used to think that my parents weren't feeding me. I was so underweight.
Wow.
And really low blood pressure too, so I used to get dizzy when I stand up. And that was for a long time growing up. And I didn't know there was anything I could do about it.
What kind of diet did you eat back then?
So I was raised vegetarian by my parents, as were they. They were raised vegetarian too. It's a long family history, but when was it, 2013, sometime in the summer of 2013, I decided naturally that I just wanted to be vegan. I didn't even know the word at the time, but
Right.
Just something in my intuition told me to pack up the animal product, so I did. And some things improved. My breathing improved. There was not so much phlegm in my chest, but there were still many health problems I had even on a vegan diet.
Right. So, what were they?
So I still had. I was still having anxiety.
When did that start?
So mainly was when I was at university, to be honest.
And what year was that?
That was 2012 until 2015.
Okay.
3 years, and especially towards the end, it was really quite general anxiety, but also a lot to do with the university work. But I just feel myself waking up stressed, waking up anxious, having panic attacks over small things. And I was struggling because I didn't know why this was happening.
Right.
And nothing could seem to take it away apart from the tablets which I was prescribed.
Oh, right. So did you take any other medication, or did you have any treatments for these things?
Yeah, I was taking some anxiety medication, but it made me feel horrible and numb. And I thought to myself, there must be another way. There must be another way than taking this medication, because my body is not wrong. Mother Nature has not designed me wrong. It must be something in my environment that I'm doing that is creating this anxiety, and it's within my power to stop it.
Right. And was there anything else you used to struggle with?
Well, I had glasses, and I didn't expect that to go away when I got those when I was about 17, so quite late. I needed them for things like seeing on a blackboard or seeing a lecture, something like this. But as I started to eat the raw food, my eyesight started to become sharper, and it started to improve to the point where I don't need to wear glasses anymore.
Wow.
So that's an amazing benefit that I didn't expect at all, like a side effect, a good side effect.
Uh-huh. So tell me about how you went from vegan to raw. What happened?
Okay, so I'd already been vegan since about the summer of 2013, and I'd been enjoying that lifestyle, but I was still having these health issues. And then it was this same kind of feeling that got me to try the non-animal foods, that got me to try the more fruit-based things. Just this feeling in my heart. I'd briefly met a man who was raw vegan when I was volunteering for an ultramarathon, marshalling for it in 2015, and he was running it. And afterwards, when we were giving the medals out, he was telling me that it was raw, and I thought, wow, that's cool. And then it just sort of planted the seed. I never thought that I'd be ever doing it. But then in 2017, that's when I decided to. I didn't really decide, but it kind of happened by accident, just eating fully raw stuff. I'd been eating mainly raw things for about a year before that.
What kind of things?
So the only things that I'd been eating that wasn't really raw was things like oats, but I'd packed up the gluten and the cooked oil. So it was mainly steamed vegetables, steamed potatoes, still some rice, and some oats.
When you say raw, what kind of things would you eat raw?
Fruits. It was all fruits, mangoes, passion fruits, papayas, bananas. I'm lucky that you can still get some of these things in England because they're all imported. Obviously, it's not they're not picked ripe, but for me it's better than nothing. So I really enjoyed eating all those fruits, oranges, apples. In the summer you get all the berries. Yeah. So I used to love that. That's my favourite.
And so you were eating a lot of raw and some cooked.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then it was quite strange, really. 1 week I literally forgot to put, it got to the point where I was only eating oats, which was the cooked thing left in my diet, and I forgot to write them on my shopping list. And me being me, if I forget to write something, I forget to buy it. So I was getting my fruit, forgot to buy the oats, and then I was thinking to myself, oh no, you know, when I got home and I realised, oh, I've forgotten the oats. I thought, oh, I'll just have to eat fruits this week then, I don't have time to go and get the oats. So that week I just ate fruit, and I felt on top of the world. I felt the best I've ever felt, except for now, and I felt really strong and really healthy and fit and more energy than I'd ever had.
Wow.
So I thought, wow, there's something in not having oats. I've got to do this again. I've got to, let me see if I can eat fruits for another week. And I never intended it to be some long-term thing. I just thought I'll keep it going for as long as it feels right. Feels right.
Yeah. And then what happened?
And then that's the rest is history, as they say. I carried it on. But it felt good for those, it felt great for those 2 weeks. Little was I to know that for the next 3 months it would be a real roller coaster, because that's when the detox kicked in. Everything that I'd been suppressing emotionally with food that I didn't know I'd been doing started to rise up and come out, because I wasn't pushing it down anymore. I wasn't suppressing it anymore.
Did you get physical symptoms as well?
To be honest, mainly it was emotional symptoms rather than anything physical. I know people experience it in different ways, but for me, what I felt was literally 3 months of what felt like solid depression.
Wow.
I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to do much. I just wanted to stay in bed and was waking up very late every day. I just didn't feel like I wanted to be alive. It was a very, very sad situation, and never experienced it to that extent before in my life.
So what kept you going? Why didn't you give up?
It was interesting because people were saying to me, like, look, the fruit is killing you, you know, look what you're doing to yourself. But something in my heart, some feeling in my heart, my intuition, it's just a whisper was just telling me, like, it's just a feeling. It was like, it's not the fruit. The fruit isn't causing this. The fruit is simply exposing this.
Right.
And I just had this feeling, and I just followed it. And I don't know where, I didn't know what it was going to do, where it was taking me, but I just trusted it, surrendered to it.
Wow.
And I didn't realise that after those 3 months, the suffering at some point would just drop by itself, because it simply got too much to take, and it just dropped, and it was a real 180 from not wanting to be alive to I couldn't be more happy to be alive.
Wow. In
a matter of overnight. And I'd never experienced anything like that before in my life.
And so since then, how have you felt emotionally?
Since then, that suffering hasn't seemed to come back, because now when something happens, I don't store it. It's like I'm the vessel, it goes through me instead of me keeping that anger or resentment or whatever. You feel it in the moment and then it's gone.
Wow.
You don't store it, you don't have anything to comfort you, so you're forced to feel it. And because you're forced to feel it, you can't keep it, which is great, actually.
Okay. So after the 3 months, what about the other issues you had? Like, when did what change?
It was that point, really. It was that overnight point, because it had been building. The anxiety had been building. Everything had been, it was mainly the anxiety had been building up, the depression. And then when it simply got too much that you either die or change, it decided to leave me, and it's like a forced change.
So you basically got rid of anxiety then?
Yes, and I never felt it come back to the same extent that it was then.
Wow.
Because, as I said, now when I feel something, I feel it now, and then it's gone.
And the glasses, how raw were you when that changed?
So I remember one time I forgot my glasses, and I realised that I was able to see the board at the train station saying all the arrivals, departures, etc. And I thought, I couldn't see this before. I used to have to wear my glasses to see this. That was probably about I think, about 4 or 5 months after the fruit, and I realised that I can see this because I just happened to forget my glasses. It could have been earlier, but that's the time when I realised.
Wow, and what about your weight and blood pressure?
That was amazing. So yeah, I'd always been really low weight and low blood pressure. I remember sometimes I used to work in a library when a part-time job at university, and I used to be arranging the books on the bottom shelf, and it got to the point where I'd stand up and feel really dizzy. Okay. And then I was able to put on weight finally when I was eating raw food, because I feel like the raw food balances you out. If you've got excess weight, it evens you out, and if you've got too little weight, it evens you out. So I was able to put on, I think it was maybe 7 kilos on the fruit. Wow. Because my intestine was working, and I was actually absorbing the nutrients for once and eating more nutritious food as well. So I was so happy. That was the first time that I was able to put on weight. Wow,
and the blood pressure?
That too, yeah. Like I was to my wit's end with that. I was getting to the point where I'd see black dots all the time. I'd be worried I was going to faint. And within about 6 months, that was not happening anymore at all. I could stand up, I could do all my exercise, I could be even upside down, I could do anything, and it would not be a problem. It would be easy, which was a real miracle.
Amazing. And what did your family say about it?
I mean, my family are quite open-minded, because soon after I went vegan, they asked me why, and I told them firstly because it feels good, secondly because of the reasons I'd heard about the animals and the environment, health, and they soon followed. So they're quite open-minded. So they see that I feel better on the fruit, they see my health improving, and they have also started to eat little bits more raw food, which is nice. Really, that's a miracle too, and I think it's a beautiful thing to share.
Do you have a final advice for somebody who's struggling with your kind of health issues?
Yes, I do. So firstly, don't give up hope. There's always hope. If I can do it, you can do it too. Secondly, I say it's probably more about what you're not having rather than what you're having. So for me, not having the gluten, not having the cooked oil, and also being vegan, the non-dairy and non-meat, that was the biggest thing, not having gluten and not having cooked oil. That really helped me massively, because it meant that my body wasn't constantly fighting. It was able to absorb the nutrients, and my intestine was healthy.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing your amazing story.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and if this can help anyone, that would be amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Louise.
Hvis du gerne vil lære præcis, hvad du skal spise, så kan du downloade min gratis Kom i gang guide. Her får du kostlister og et par lette opskrifter samt en lille introduktion til kosten og livsstilen. Du er også velkommen til at se mit gratis webinar, Sådan spiser du dig rask. Her underviser jeg i, hvordan jeg selv spiser mig rask, hvordan kroppen helbreder naturligt, hvad man skal spise og hvorfor der ikke er nogen, der kender til det her. Og hvis du allerede nu ved, at du for alvor bare vil i gang med kosten, så er det mit helt store 4 ugers online videokursus, Frugtkost for begyndere, som du skal have fat i. Her tager jeg dig nemlig i hånden uge for uge, så det hele bliver super nemt og overskueligt. Og bedst af alt, så kan du se det hele hjemme i din egen stue. Og her til sidst, så husk at abonnere og like, samt følg mig på de sociale medier, hvis du gerne vil have endnu flere gode tips og videoer fra mig. Kan du have en rigtig skøn og dejlig dag.